Hey everyone, I hope you all are doing great. In last video, right, I kind of introduced to you about the basic concept of SaaS software, right, versus the traditional on-premise software that we have for Sterling B2B integrator. I also introduced about the free trial that you can get to the IBM B2B integration SaaS portal, right, and I gave you a homework of like looking into that, see what are the benefits, things like that, right? I'll give another week for you to like do some discovery, right, and come back. But meanwhile, if you have seen my channel's name, right, it's not only about just focusing on EDI and specifically around Sterling B2B integrator, because most of my experience before joining AWS was around Sterling B2B integrator. But I also wanted to introduce you to some of the cloud native managed file transfer tools, right, as part of this channel. And that's the reason, okay, have like mentioned EDI and cloud in the channel name. So today I thought, okay, it would be the right time. Well, I kind of would like to introduce you. Like, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar, but other than the traditional B2B software that we have, like IBM B2B integrator, Axway, and there are a few more, right? Clio and other few tools, okay, which are mostly like a software that you get, right, with some hardware requirements that you need to install on some virtual machines, right, like Linux or Windows, things like that, and then access them to do your day-to-day job, right? So there's a lot of this uh, what do you call operational overhead, right, admin related work that you need to do along with your development side of it, right? But as you know, right, we are going through a lot of like digital transformation projects where a lot of the companies, right, they're migrating their on-premise software, on-premise infrastructure, in fact, right, to cloud, right, be it AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, right, just to name a few, right? And while migrating to cloud, right, it's a different mindset, right, of how you manage and maintain your infrastructure, software that you run, and the application that you build, right? So now coming back, like if I keep the backdrop of integration, right, on the Azure side, we have a specific Azure integration service, right, which does kind of similar like EDI file transfers with certain EDI standards that it supports, right, out of the box. On AWS side, right, we do have a service called AWS Transfer Family, which started its journey with just supporting very few protocols like SFTP, FTP, FTPS, right? And then it was just like as is file transfer. And then over the time, based on different customers' feedback and feature requests, right? It's going through an evolution of adding more and more features, right? On top of that, to be able to support the additional requirements of not only just file transfers, but also like how we can support like X12, Edifact, those kind of documents. So it's going through that changes, right? It does support some of those, like using B2B data interchange that was released last reInvent. This is the reInvent is the biggest conference of AWS, right, where most of the product, like there are a lot of new features that gets published during that time, announced, right, things like that. And also AWS Transfer Family, it does support now a wide range of protocols, like it also supports AS tools, right? And then it, like if you, and I'll give you a quick demo of that, right, in today's session. But in addition to just like the as is file transfer, it does have a feature called managed workflows, right, where let's say you have a use case where you are receiving a PGP encrypted file from your external trading partners, or maybe you're receiving a GIF file and you have to unzip or like decrypt the PGP encrypted file. So you have to do some post processing on the file, and then there might be some additional translation logic that you need to apply, right? And then you need to transfer it to some downstream applications. So it does support some flavor of that, like using managed workflow. I'll not be able to cover all of that in today's call. I want to keep it very brief for today's, but I just wanted to introduce how quickly, right, without any operating system, any virtual machines, right? You don't need any infrastructure, right, on your end to be able to do, like, quickly set up a SFTP server, right, to do file transfers with any with external trading partners. How easy it is, okay, to be able to spin up a SFTP server on cloud and then start transferring files in and out, right? So let me quickly share my screen, and I'm going to show you like the AWS console and how quickly you can set up an SFTP server, and I'll do a quick file transfer, right, to show you how easy it is, right, to get started. So with that, so let me log into my AWS console, and then once I've logged into my AWS console, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna search for AWS transfer family. If you see, it's a fully managed service, right? So you don't have to uh, take care of the underlying operating system, the underlying hardware, memory, CPU, storage, and all that. Like, all you need to do is like need to just configure and then start using it, right, within few minutes. And you can see like you have features like you can create an SFTP server, you can create an SFTP connector for outbound file transfers, right, where AWS Transfer Family is acting as the SFTP client. You can create workflows. I mentioned like some post processing that you can do. You can create an AS2 server, AS2 connector for outbound. So let me open this AWS Transfer Family, and at the so now all I need to do is, if you see, I just need to click create a server. Now a single endpoint, right, can support multiple protocols. For the sake of today's demo, I'm going to keep it very simple, so I'm not going to select the other ones. I'm going to select only SFTP. There are different identity providers, like you can bring in your own identity provider, or you can integrate with AWS directory services, right, or you can create your users within the service itself. So I'm going to select like keep it service managed. I'm going to create a user account. So now there are a couple of endpoint types, and for production I would suggest like going to VPC hosted, which adds more security, right? But for the sake of our demo, I'll keep it publicly accessible. So as long as someone is having access to internet, they should be able to access the endpoint without any restrictions, right? And all they need is the user details, right, the authentication details, so to be able to log in, right? I can just click next. Now at the back end, okay, from a storage standpoint, like when you transfer the file, right, to the SFTP server, at the back end, you can either store the data or receive the data in an S3 bucket, or you can even use EFS, which is an elastic file system, right? So you can select either of them based on a use case. Now I'm going to keep everything default here. If you see, there's like workflow, right? You can create a workflow here where you can do like once the file are uploaded, if there any post processing that it has to do on that, right? So you can create a workflow over here and attach it to that. And then I'll keep everything same. And then I'll go next and then just create server, right? It takes maybe a couple of minutes to just do the configuration, set up the endpoint, and then it's going to show the status. Right now it is starting. It's going to show it as online. That means it is ready. The SFTP server is up and running. Meanwhile, okay, while the server is getting created, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a user, right, a service managed user, so that I can use that to log into the SFTP server. So I'm going to click create user, and then let's say I'm going to create test. I can plunge it, and then role I can select like certain roles which has like certain specific permissions, right? So I can select like any custom role that I've created for S3, but for this I can select a default policy from IAM, identity and access management, and let's see, I'm gonna select S3 full access. I can select like only write access, read access, things like that. I can restrict, right, certain users based on what they are going to do, right, once they log in. And then I can create like home folder, right, once they log in. What's the S3 bucket, okay, folder that they would get logged in, right? So I can create a specific like S3 buckets for each and every trading partner, and then let them upload the file right to that specific folder only, right? And they don't have access to the home folder. So I can do that, right? So let me select like maybe a deployment bucket for the timing, just for an example, right? And I can select like restricted. That way, like they can't like it's like kind of a virtual root, right? In installing integrator. So I can do that. And then all you need is that you need an SSH public key. So public key, you need to set it up over here in the user account, and you need to have the public private key for logging through like some SFTP client, like maybe FileZilla or WinSpace. So I've already created like using PuttyGen. Like you can use a PuttyGen, right, to create a. This is the software you can use to generate a public and private key pair. So I've already generated that. So let me open that. So this is the public key. I'm gonna copy that, and then I'm gonna just click add. Okay, I need a role. So let me see. I can create a role. Okay, maybe AWS. Hmm, container. Maybe admin role for the time being. Okay. And I'm gonna click add. Right now, the user is created successfully. I'm gonna go and then see if you see it's online. That means this server is up and running. So if you open the server, it has an endpoint. You need this endpoint, and let me open WinSCP. Right now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy this endpoint because you need an URL over here. So I'm gonna paste it here. Let the port be 2022. There's a default port. So password, I'll go in the advanced section, and then I'm gonna go in the authentication. I'm gonna select the private key file, which I've already created using the putty key generator. I'm gonna click OK, and I'm gonna click login, right? So when I'm logging in, it's searching for the host name. It will take some time, but once it finds for the first time, it will be faster for the next time, right? So just bear with me while it is searching. I hope I didn't make any typo error. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah. So see, it's connected. Now it's asking whether you want to add the key. This is for the first time you have to add this fingerprint. You typically get that even installing B2B integrator. So it says server refused our key. Interesting. Let's see. Uh, Let me go back again here. Let's see. This is the one. Maybe let me delete it, and then let me open it fresh. So, okay, let me do one thing. Let me create a new one. Put it gen and generate. So I'm creating a public private key fresh. So now the key is generated. Now I'm gonna copy this one, paste it over here, add key, and then I need to save the private key, and let's say I name it test hyphen. Okay, now I'm gonna use that authentication test hyphen branch it. Yeah, so there was an issue with the public key. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me create a role there's an issue with the role. It looks like. Let's see. Maybe I'll go to and then there's some role that is. Let's see. So S3 upload. So what I'm gonna do is okay. So I'm gonna create a fresh role with S3 full access. Okay. So let me do that. I'm here, and then let's go to the IAM identity and access management, and then let me create. I actually selected an existing role. I haven't checked that, so I think there's an issue with the role. So maybe I'm gonna create a role, an AWS service, allow an AWS transfer family, and then allow transfer to call services on your behalf. So AWS transfer family would be able to access. This is the role that it has to assume to access the S3 buckets. So I'll give full access. So as Amazon S3, and then I'm gonna create like maybe S3 upload role. Okay, and I'm gonna create the role. Now I'm gonna go back to the transfer family. So this is a good like thing that I'm trying to like debug, and you're able to see like how I'm debugging that. And then all you need to do is let's see. Can I change that? Oh no. Hmm, that's an issue. Okay, I need to create it freshly. Looks like. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back and do the same thing. Let's. I think I cannot change it after I have created the SFTP server, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just delete this existing, and then I'm gonna create a fresh one real quick. Let's see, and then just and role. I'm gonna give that S3 upload role that I've selected. Policy, let it be as is. Let me select some folder where I want to. Okay, and then let's copy this public key and then just create. So now that this is created, it's starting. Meanwhile, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna log back, and what I need to do is I need this endpoint. So this advanced authentication. Let's use this previous one. And now, once the server is up and running, it should, yes, it's starting. So, yeah, I'm just going to wait for a few more minutes. And once this server is up and running, we should be able to. Meanwhile, if I go to the S3, what I'm going to do is like, this is where I'm going to drop a, I selected a folder. So I think this is the folder deployment bucket. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drop a file here like test for the test purpose. So this is the bucket where the file would land. So what I'm gonna do is let me remove the existing files so that I can start clean. Right now, see if there are no files here, and then I'm gonna go back to transfer family. Hopefully, it will be up and running by now. Click server. It's in West 2. So, yeah. So the server is up and running now online. So I should be able to connect now. Yeah, it's connecting for the first time again because it's a new server. So that's the first time it's going to search for the host. So give it a moment. Yep. Now accept. Authenticated. Starting the session. Right. Reading remote directory. So everything went fine. We logged into this branch specific folder under that. Right. So if you go back here and let's say I open S3 bucket, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create here a new file, and let's say I give the file name. Okay, let me, maybe what I'm going to do is I'm going to take an existing file from my documents, maybe annexure. So I'm going to just drop it over here, and then skip, and then there's a file over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the bucket. I'm going to go to the deployment. And if you see over here, there's a file folder already created as branch for the first time, and then all the files will run. And if you see, the file is over here, right? So how easy it is to just spin up an SFTP server using AWS transfer family, right? And then start transferring files, right, with your partner. So yeah, I think that was for today's session. I hope you all liked it, right? The reason why I'm introducing those cloud native services is eventually, right, uh, this is more of like quickly spinning up a server and be able to do the file transfers in a cost effective manner, right? Thinking about the license fees, right, of traditional software like Sterling Integrator, right, or X-Ray. This is more of a nimble, cost-effective way of like doing SFTP or FTP or AS2, right? Those kind of file transfers with your external trading partners, right? So with that, I'm gonna end this session. I hope you liked it. Let me know if you have any feedback on this. But this was completely new. Hopefully for all of you, you have learned something. And I'll probably like maybe in some future session, I want to show you like a managed workflow, how you can do not only the inbound file transfer, but how you can do outbound file transfer, do some post processing things like that. So I'm going to introduce those things also at some point, right? While we're discussing about B2B integrator. So I'm going to stop and